Hi there, this is Dr. Grinnell. I wanted to give you some quick guidance on how to do the class activities for week 5. In this video, I'm going to talk about our green team kickoff in week 8, a little bit about the force field analysis and action plan. You should have read about that already. Something about the communication plan activity, and then just a reminder about the Comm Project 3. Now, you're not actually going to be planning your team's green team kickoff event this week. We'll be doing that over the next 2 weeks. But you need a little bit of information in order to do your ad and invitation. So this is a little bit to give you a background. First of all, the date and time for the event, for the kickoff event, is week 8, March 9th, from 6 to 7 p.m. The purpose of it is to increase acceptance of the SDGs. And you're going to do that over the next couple weeks by planning some virtual icebreakers and games, some meaningful projects, and find some educational videos. In Comm Project 3, you're going to be marketing the SDGs and the Green Team Kickoff event using your social media ads or invites, which will be at the end of this week, the interactive newsletter, which will be at the end of next week, the website, which will be at the end of week 7. Now, this actually continues through the next mod because Earth Day is the next mod and gives us great opportunities to continue increasing the acceptance of SDGs. And also you have the opportunity perhaps to plan some volunteer events and some workshops. Just as an example, this was last semester's conference agenda. It started out with an orientation in the conference overview, a very brief introduction of what the SDGs were, and then we broke out into a breakout session for each team. And at the end, we pulled together for a final drawing for some door prizes. We created a virtual conference hall and allowed people to move between the different breakout rooms. Now, for this week's class activity, you're going to be preparing stakeholders for change. In order to do that, you need to understand what their resistance to change is, and then come up with an action plan for reducing the resistance to change. And after you have your action plan, you have to think of how you're going to communicate this plan to reach your stakeholders. Please be sure to bring your ideas to week 6 class also. Due on Sunday are the individual class activities 5A, 5B, and 5C, the force field analysis, the action plan, and the communication plan. Now, you actually have another video that covers this, so I'm going to go through it very, very quickly. The force field analysis looks like this. It's a T-table with 2 brainstorm lists, one for driving forces, one for restraining forces, with different arrows indicating the strength of the force. Step 1 is to write a question, draw a large T. On one side, write driving forces. On the other side, write restraining forces. Now, you may use paper and take a photo, or you may use the worksheets that are in this week's class activities folder. Brainstorm each side. Very important, they are 2 independent lists. Do not have a restraining force for each driving force. Once you have a good list, and each one, ask, is it strong, moderate, weak, and draw an arrow under each one. Long arrow for strong, medium for moderate, short for weak. This is a very visual tool, which is one of the reasons why it works. And it allows you, or it helps you focus your efforts. So your turn is to do a force field analysis. You'll be doing this as an individual activity. This is what the worksheet looks like. As I say, you can use a large piece of paper also. Once you have an idea of what the resistance to change could be, you need to think about how you can reduce that. And you do that through change management planning, which can be education, training, and persuasion. So you want to identify those items that are driving forces that may not be as strong a driving force as you would like, or the restraining forces that are huge that you may want to reduce. And then you're going to think about an action plan. How can you increase the driving forces? How can you reduce the restraining forces? Here are some of the kinds of things that you can do. Just a partial list. There are many things. Now this is also for the workplace. So use your imagination. What do you think could work? So think about how you would increase the driving forces and reduce the restraining forces. Finally, we are going to take a holistic view for how to communicate with our stakeholders. This is an example of the kinds of stakeholders that you might have in a business. You've already looked at the kind of stakeholders that you are trying to reach. So you're going to create a communication plan. You have your frequency and your stakeholders. So the frequency here is how often you're going to communicate with them, and then the top row is the different kinds of stakeholders. So again, in a business plan or a business organization, you might have these kinds of stakeholders. And then you have your months, your dates, whatever it is, and that you're going to do it. You should always try to use existing communications first, because there are a lot of things that are probably out there, and those are things that people are used to looking at. You are going to be creating a communications plan to reach stakeholders, to invite them to what we are doing. And so this is an example of what a business would do. We are going to think about good options for recurring communications like our newsletter, our website, social media messages, and any visual reminders. So you want to think about trying to generate at least one message per week in order to reach out to your stakeholders. We haven't talked much about visual reminders, so I thought I would mention that. You can have visual reminders, whether they're online or whether they're in person. You want to make sure that they are engaging so they capture your attention, but you need to change them periodically because they become part of the landscape. So your class activity is to develop a communications plan for a time frame from now through Mod 2. I've included some of the things that we know we're already doing, like the kickoff event in week 8. We're going to be creating some training videos or workshops next mod. The Earth Day event is probably in week 6. It hasn't been nailed down yet. And then you can think about what are next steps. You are going to be doing your newsletter next week and the website in week 7. So how will you communicate your projects? And let's remember that you are going to be preparing your ad or invitation that we'll send out to folks to have them come to the kickoff event, where you will have a lot of entertaining things, but you're going to be developing those over the next 2 weeks. So this is just kind of a general ad or invitation. And if you can have that in by Sunday, that would be great. And that is what I have for you today. If you have any questions, please email me.